Welcome back to Midnight Viewing. More specifically, we're talking Yautja Fest. I heard an interview with Dan Trachtenberg recently, and evidently I've been saying it wrong this entire time. What a crime, HP?
Yowza, yowza, Yautja.
Get the fuck out of here with that nonsense. I waited all this time for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, kids and germs and smizmars. This is the one. Oh, no, we did pray. This is the stopgap. This was a surprise. This was a secret project, evidently. Nobody knew about it while they were doing it. They were doing it in conjunction or at the same time as Predator Badlands.
All right. Dan Trachtenberg is full of surprises, as will be this discussion. I think you'll find, Father Malone. This discussion on Killer of Killers will be full of surprises as well.
Okay, that means that HP didn't like it, evidently. So let's find out why. First of all, here's the trailer.
Old enough now. It's time I tell you about the monster. We must kill it, or it will kill us all.
Predator and Killer of Killers released on June the 6th, 2025 on streaming only. This is a Hulu jam. It is directed by Dan Trachtenberg, screenplay by Micio Robert Rutari, story by Dan Trachtenberg and Micio Robert Rutari, based on characters by who? Say it with me, everybody. Jim and John Thomas. This one stars Lindsay Lavanchi, Louis Ozawa, Rick Gonzalez, and Michael B. HP, what do you think of this? What did you think of this one? No, actually, no, I'm going to take that back. Let me just say, it is rare in the midst of a franchise to receive the gift of an anthology. We here at Midnight Viewing specialize in anthologies, so what a welcome fucking dessert this was for me. I love short fiction. I love slices of fiction. Now, HP, did you know that part of the inspiration for this film, aside of Dan Trachtenberg saying Pulp Fiction is also an anthology, because most people think of the horror anthologies when they think of anthologies at all, but do you know that part of the inspiration for this film was Best in Show?
That I did not know. And I'm searching, trying to find is it just because of the fact that you're dealing with 5 or 6 different groups of dog competitors? Is that the tie-in?
That's part of it.
Okay. What's the formal connection between the two?
You meet each of those characters individually. You fall in love with them and their own particular stories, and then you have to watch them battle at the end.
Ah, interesting. Now, can I back up for 1 minute before we get into this? I feel the need to bring this up. Now, I didn't want to imply that I did not like this. Maybe I'm spoiling the discussion a little bit, but it's not that I did not like it. It's just, we'll get into it, but just understand, first of all, I love the fact that this was a surprise that was sprung on people without any real notice. It was like getting a present when it's not Christmas.
On Halloween.
It reminded me a little bit of when musicians sometimes have a surprise album drop. Bowie did this with The Next Day, I remember, was a big deal to me because it came out of nowhere. He hadn't recorded in forever. And there we had this gift of an album kind of out of the blue. So I love the fact that Trachtenberg, it makes me feel like he values the fans and loves that shock, surprise, and appreciation of something that kind of out of, it's not like he had to do it. He wasn't under any obligation to give us the gift of this movie or this animated collection of shorts. But so all due respect to Trachtenberg, I love the fact that we were gifted this essentially, but let's dig into it a little bit and I'll go into some of the pros and cons, my likes and dislikes of this.
Too late. You didn't like it. Dan Trachtenberg hates you now.
I hope not, because I respect the hell out of him. I love what he's done with the franchise, but let's dig into this a little bit.
Let us do that. 3 stories, technically 4, because there is a wrap-up, a wraparound, if you will. Take us there, HB.
In broad strokes, the first episode, it takes place in its Viking times. It's called The Shield, and it involves
This is the oldest one. This is the oldest story. This takes place in 841 AD.
Ah, okay. I must not have written down the year. So this is a story of a shield maiden in Viking times who is obsessed with vengeance. She wants to kill the feudal lord or what have you, who murdered her, actually forced her to murder her own father. And she's taking, among the people she takes with her is her son. And they have this final assault on his palace, if you will. And of course, who has to come and crash the party but our friend the Yautja. So that's story 1. Story 2 is a little further into the future. It takes place in 1609, feudal Japan. This, by the way, spoiler alert, this was my favorite of the stories that we get. This one was called The Sword. This is about 2 brothers who are supposed to fight to decide who gets to carry on the samurai tradition of their father. One of them runs away in disgrace and becomes essentially a Ronin. And the father dies.
No. Excuse me, sir. He did not become a Ronin. He became a shinobi. A Ronin is a disgraced samurai. He becomes a ninja.
That's fine. I stand corrected.
This is the classic tale of samurai versus ninja.
Yes.
Versus
and again, they're having this showdown. The father has died. They're having this showdown. And who crashes the party? Our friend the Yautja. The third tale is called, I have it here, it's called The Bullet. It takes place in 1941. It's the story of a young man who dreams of becoming a pilot one day. He eventually joins the war effort in 1942. There's an air battle. Once again, our friends, they crash the party, as it were. I already said that before. I used that metaphor twice. Thank you. And this young man, what's his name? Gonzalez, I think his name is? Torres. Sorry.
Torres, played by Rick Gonzalez.
Yeah, that's where the mix-up was. Torres musters the courage to try and take out the Yautja. And then the fourth and final entry in this anthology is, spoiler alert, all of the main characters of the preceding 3 stories beat the predators. They effectively kill the predators. The 4th story is they've all been brought together to the Yautja home planet to duke it out in gladiatorial combat to decide who is, wait for it, the killer of killers.
Yeah, that last story is called The Battle, by the way.
The Battle. Oh, sorry, I left that out.
Let's dig into The Shield, my favorite story. In fact, I wish these stories had been played in reverse order. I wish we had started with The Bullet and then gone back further and further in time.
It would have been an interesting choice. I said that the one that in Japan, the Sword was my favorite. This one was a very close second. I really like this. This is a very solid introduction to the world and the sort of look of this, because it is animated, but it's not animated in a traditional sense. It almost looks, and I think the team that animated this, they're known primarily as a previs team. And that's the vibe I get from this. It's both kind of a strength and a weakness of this. Because if you don't like the look of this animation, you're predisposed to not really enjoying the experience.
That's the thing about every animation, honestly. And the further and further, or the older and older I get, the more and more I find that I either respond to the character design or I don't. And no amount of, oh, wow, that's cool, whiz bang, whatever, is going to change that or make me enjoy that thing. Luckily, these look like watercolor paintings come to life.
Yeah, they're very cool. They have a three-dimensionality to them, which I think is appealing. And it's animated very well. I really enjoyed it. I thought it's probably a less expensive way of producing the animation because it's not as smooth or as detailed as other animation that I've seen. But this worked very well, I think.
Yeah, and this is the story I like the most, basically because it goes everywhere I want a story to go. It has breathless action. It has fantastic action, as a matter of fact. And it has crazy emotion. And it leaves you devastated at the end. And that's what I'm looking for in anything. And no Predator movie to this point has left me feeling that way at the end, bereft. Even Predators, where they're trapped on that planet, because I didn't give a shit about those characters. This story is 22 minutes maybe in length. And by the end, I was absolutely shredded for Ursa.
It's a powerful story and it's well told. And I think what you hit upon is one thing that we talked about in the context of Prey, the last episode, which is Prey we basically agreed that Prey, you could have taken the Yautja out of it entirely. And it would have been a very compelling story of this Native American tribe and the struggles of Naru and how she was going to navigate the culture. The best stories in this anthology, in my opinion, follow a similar dynamic. So this one, the story of the Shield Maiden looking for vengeance against her hated, this person that destroyed her world essentially and made it so that she says she feels that there's a monster inside of her that can't be slaked until she kills this person. That's a very compelling story without the otherworldly dealings with the Predator. Same thing when we get to the sword. It's the same deal. We really care about these characters, and it's such a compelling tale that they tell that with or without the Yautja, it's still going to be a cool story that they're telling. That to me is what marks the best of these anthology pieces, and the Shield is a good example of that.
I've been in the anthology trenches for years now, and I can say with authority that the greatest thing an anthology story can be is economical with its time. And each of these is incredibly economical. They're fleet of foot considering how much shoe leather they're laying out here. And I agree with you. The best Predator stories are the ones that could exist without the Predator. There could just be whatever the threat happens to be. At the end of the Shield, the Predator character might as well have been the Zoran character, which is the evil warlord that she's come to kill. She dispatches him, or rather her son dispatches him pretty quickly, and then she has to fight the Predator. So that easily just could have been swapped out and her fight Zoran and then come with the same outcome. However, what they do here by adding the Predator is they do something really clever, which is they tell us once again the story of Beowulf, where they've come to this king's grand hall and they're in there, all these warriors, and then this monster Grendel shows up. And in fact, they call him Grendel as soon as he does. And that to me was fan-fucking-tastic. A real-world sci-fi reasoning for the Beowulf tale to have been told in the first place.
I thought that was really cool too, because that's the only frame of reference these characters have back then, is this mythology of this great monster that's come to do battle with them. Of course, they would lean on their own mythology to make sense of what's happening around them. The other kind of cool thing that they introduce in this, and we've seen this in the other Predator movies especially, is that each Predator, each Yautja has some kind of unique style or weaponry that kind of distinguishes them from any of the other Yautja that we've seen. We saw this in every one of the movies. This has one of those kind of cool weapons. He has what's essentially like a sonic spring. He's missing a hand, this Yautja, and in its place, it's this spring-loaded device that when it's fired, it shoots like a wave of sound energy and knocks down people, can break things. I love the technology. Every little morsel of technology that they introduce with the Yautja, I think, is always really special.
Absolutely. In Prey, we discovered that they hadn't, at that time, come up with energy-based weapons. They were still using projectiles. So this is even further back. This is like 1,000 years before that movie. It only makes sense that it's going to be more physical and less sort of sci-fi energy-based phasers or something. And so that makes it almost steampunk because he has to lock it into place to get it to work every time, basically like prime the pump. Not only is it like the cool steampunky version of a Predator weapon, but it does continue the care with which Trachtenberg is treating all of this because, as you said, each of them has their own specialized weapon. And he knows that as fans, we like that shit. We want new stuff and we want it to be super cool. And all of the weapons are super cool. And this one in particular, more than the other stories, and maybe the reason I like it the most is that's that Predator's ace in the hole. That's what he thinks and probably has gotten him out of every scrape he's ever been into or ever been in. And it's the thing that effectively kills him here at the end. I loved the ending. And using the shield and that knocks her back, then knocks him into the fucking anchor and I don't know. Loved it. Loved it.
That's key to all of these stories is the combatant, the human going up against the predator always figures out what's the secret to beating it? What's that thing that makes them vulnerable, or how do they use the weaponry against them? I think that's the thing that kind of binds them all together. All of these winners in the predator battles, they all have the ability to figure out what's happening quickly, process that information, and figure out a way to use it back against the predator.
And they don't really, half of every Predator movie till now is them figuring out those things. Oh, it can't see coal. Like here, she's under a fucking ice floe. She's beneath a frozen lake and it can't see her. Does that matter to her? No, she's just trying to breathe. We as the audience already know. So I'm glad he's working his way towards that, where we don't have to be introduced to the rules of the Predator every single fucking time. How many times can we watch fucking Bruce Wayne crying over his parents' corpse?
And that's the thing about this that I appreciate is he's doing this. Trachtenberg is doing this. He's produced this for the fans. And that's the clearest indication that you just described, which is he doesn't have to sit there and give you the rundown on the Yautja and their existence and their history and how they work and their code of ethics and honor. We all know that. So clearly this was executed in such a way that fans are going to have a lot of fun with this and not have to be spoon-fed the origin and how this all works. It's all, the word you used was like economical. This is so streamlined and efficient storytelling. It's really, that part of it's, I think, very effective.
I think it's not only excellent service for the fans because it's not insulting to us and it came out of nowhere and we love this and we want more of it, but it allows him to expand his universe exponentially and very simply. The fact that this entire movie starts with a quote from the Yautja Codex, "Go forth among the stars and seek only the strongest prey. They shall be your trophy. Become the killer of killers." That's from them. And this is the first sort of text we've received from the Yautja. Apparently, there is a law book, and that's one of them.
The more and more he expands the universe, the cooler it is. And we see a lot of that come the end of this movie. But for me, it's also very chilling. And there's something very disturbing about one aspect of basically the third going into the fourth story that we'll talk about. But the bottom line is Trachtenberg and his team of writers and everyone else, they're just so smart at expanding this universe in such a logical way and making it, I'm not sure they would ever dreamed of where the Yautja is now when the first Predator was made back in 86, some 40 years ago. It's pretty remarkable what we have now versus what was originally given to us back then.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, finally somebody fucking innovating, because we had 30 years in between Predator and Predators, and they just told the same fucking movie.
Pretty much.
Let's go back to the jungle with a bunch of soldiers. Okay, let's do it. Yay. Who gives a shit? Oh, we got dogs now. Okay, great. I know I liked that movie more than I'm letting on, but give me a break already. Anyway, Let's move on to the next story. By the way, I listened to and read a bunch of interviews with Trachtenberg about this film, and as if my admiration wasn't high enough, he gives credit like it's fucking Halloween candy. He like everyone who points out something that was cool that came from another person's idea, he points that person out immediately, and I admire that.
I love humility. I love somebody who gives credit where credit is due. Makes me like him even more.
All right, take us to the sword. 1609, feudal Japan. Beautiful. Shakuhachi flutes playing. I would like to mention the score, by the way. Benjamin Wallfish did the score. He's a very prolific film composer and television composer, as a matter of fact. I listened to this entire soundtrack beginning to end today. It's remarkably good. And only occasionally plays on the dun-dun-dun that has to be in every Predator thing, but he works it in so well that I just fucking love it. Anyway, the sword.
What else has he done soundtracks for?
Most recently, he did the soundtrack to It. He was the co-author of the Blade Runner 2049 soundtrack. He did Shazam. He did Hellboy. Ooh. That's the bad Hellboy with David Harbour, not the
the most recent. Yeah.
He's also Lee Whannell's go-to guy. So he did The Invisible Man and Wolfman. He did that last Mortal Kombat movie. He's doing the new Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh.
He did The Flash for Andy Muschietti. He did Twisters. He did Alien Romulus. So he's actually in the fucking neighborhood already.
Wow. He is prolific and good.
And we'll be reviewing his music again in a few weeks because he did Predator Badlands.
Super.
The Sword, my man.
The Sword, like I said before.
It's your favorite, right?
It was my favorite. I'm a sucker for a tale of feudal Japan where, it's honor running through everything. The Seven Samurai is one of my favorite movies. I love all that stuff. I love the honor that they present. I love this idea of the duty that these two brothers feel. The one who's disgraced and has become a shinobi. The other wants to uphold the tradition of his father. And that just the idea that they're having this last duel together. Like I said, even outside of the alien aspect of it, that alone would be an interesting tale. It's for lack of a better word, it's shot really well. It's animated really well. The action is great. I just love it. I love martial arts movies. So this was very much in my wheelhouse.
Agreed. The action is all fucking fantastic here. And I'd like to point out I forgot to mention in the last story, the shield, when they finally arrive at Zoran's compound and Ursa jumps off that boat, that's one shot from beginning to right until she gets to Zoran. It's all one take and it's fucking amazing. Anyway, back to Japan.
We also should mention before we get to that there's this thing that he does where at the very end, after the Shield Maiden has not only killed the Predator, but sadly she has lost her own son. And it's the story, like you said, it's heart-wrenching because he dies in her arms. But what essentially happens at that point is it fades into another scene where now she has some kind of collar around her neck and somebody's kneeling in her presence. She doesn't know where she is. We don't know what's going on as audience members, but this will become part of effectively the wraparound story and the finale. But I love this little mystery that Trachtenberg is presenting us with, because we already know just from the idea of the killer of killers what's probably happening, but it's like leaving these little clues as to the ultimate fate of these characters. But then anyway, we move into the Sword, this story of these two brothers and the father that has split them in two. Very compelling stuff. And one aspect of this that I think is cool in both stories up till now is the Predator is there, but really observing, studying in a way that we don't. They do this in the other movies, but in this sense, it's almost as if he's following their individual stories, even as he's making his own plan for what he's going to try to accomplish. It's very cool. So he's observing these characters just as we are. It's almost like he's a proxy for the audience up to a point.
Professionals being professional. I just like watching the Predator doing his thing, man. And what he's focused on at any one time. Oh, these three guys have arrows. What are they doing? Target practice. This guy's, wait, who's this dude? Aha! Finally, some action. Loved it.
It's great. It's great. So they,
There's a reason that this particular group of stories could be told without the predator, and that's because these are the oldest stories in human history. The I've got to get revenge for my father story, and that revenge makes you should dig 2 graves. There you go. Brother versus brother. You want dad's love, I want dad's love. I became and then on top of that, ninja versus samurai, which we've also seen how many times. So look, the secret sauce here is the predator, but I do agree. These are so beautifully animated that had you just given me a movie called Killer of Killers, I would have been like, wow, yeah, those were the Killer of Killers. They were the best.
Yeah. And what the other thing that is apparent to me is that obviously Prey, we sung the virtues of Prey to an amazing degree in the last episode. We both loved it. And audiences loved it because it essentially rejuvenated the franchise. But what I think it's emboldened Trachtenberg to do is to say, you know what? I think there's an appetite for people to see these historical versions of these predator tales. Everything up before Prey, everything was basically modern day or near future sort of tales of the predator. We knew that he existed in the past, or the race existed in the past, because of the Adolini gun that Danny Glover gets way back in Predator 2. But it's just so smart of Trachtenberg to keep pulling on that thread of the predator all through history, and the fact that they've always been here and they're always finding new ways to battle humans, and the ingenuity of these humans throughout history to battle and kill these predators. It's like I said, maybe I seemed a little too harsh at the outset of this episode. It's not as if I didn't appreciate it and I don't love the idea behind it. I just think that's just so creative. And obviously with Badlands, he's going in the opposite direction. It looks like now we're heading back into the future for the next phase of this series.
But actually committed to that idea, as opposed to just dicking around. The last one took place now. We can't really have another one. This one will take place 10 years after that one. Why? Who cares? Go backwards, motherfucker. We don't care what the continuity of these things. It's insane to me that it took this long for anyone to figure it out, honestly. Add Predator to any genre in any time period, you're going to have a fucking good movie, as long as you don't just keep repeating the first film, obviously.
He has ultimate license, or he should. I would say if I'm the movie studio, I would give him carte blanche to do whatever the hell he wants. If he wants to do a Raiders of the Lost Ark meets the Predator movie, fucking do it. If he wants to do like kind of an Archie versus Predator type thing where it's like a teen sex comedy with the Predator mixed up, sign me up. I'm already in line. I'm there. So again, we're praising him an awful lot, but I think it's very well deserved. And even if he might not take all that credit for himself, maybe he would give it to the other people he doesn't do this all by himself, let's face it. But he is the secret sauce that made this series come alive again.
And that brings us to your favorite segment, the bullet. The bullet, by the way, is the name of his plane.
Yes.
Because that is his weapon. You get the idea here? Shield, sword, bullet.
Sure. My favorite part of this, by the way, is the fact that Michael Biehn was in it, and I didn't even know it was Michael Biehn. I thought that was really cool because we all love Michael Biehn. But having said that, this was my least favorite episode for a variety of reasons. But really, it felt to me like an episode of Amazing Stories. That's what it felt like to me. It leaned very heavily, far too heavily, in my opinion, into the action adventure comedy kind of thing. It felt like, what was that episode with Kevin Costner where the tail gunner gets stuck in the thing?
The Mission.
The Mission. Yeah, it felt like The Mission.
Casey Shamasco is a belly gunner trapped in the bubble dome on the bottom of a B-17. Landing gear won't come down. But he's a cartoonist, and this is a magical Spielberg episode.
I really wanted to like this particular episode of the movie because I love the idea that it's the 1940s, it's World War II. Being an amateur UFO buff, I'm aware that there have been UFO sightings in wartime. I think they were originally called the Foo Fighters. I think that's the origin of that name. They called them Foo Fighters. I was so excited to see that kind of idea come to life in the context of a Predator movie. But really what we got was, it felt safe to me. And I don't think the Predator series works when it plays it safe.
Here's what I'll give it. It's the first time we've seen a dog fighting Predator. It's the first time that we've seen an aerial dog fighting fella. And to me, that being his secret weapon, his specialized thing, was super duper cool. This should have been my favorite episode or my favorite story. Like you said, it takes place during World War II, and it takes place during the North African campaign, and it's about an air battle above the fucking the fray. And like you said, this is where modern UFO lore comes from. It starts at the end of World War II, or there are reports during World War II of, as you said, Foo Fighters, where B-17 pilots would report strange lights following them for miles and then disappearing in a way that didn't seem terrestrial in origin. And there's an entire squadron that went missing in the quote-unquote Bermuda Triangle not too long after the end of the World War II that they could have used. And the idea that we could have gotten I know, look, they did it so well in Heavy Metal, but the idea that they could have had a B-17 flying fortress battling a Predator, a crew of humans fighting a Predator, is super cool to me. But that's not the story they're telling. They want to give us dogfights. Okay, fine, let's do that. But let's not have him get out of the fucking cockpit at all. Because what the fuck are you doing? I ride a bike to and from work. If I take my hands off the handlebars for a second, I'm going to be in a lot of pain. This character is constantly getting out of his airplane. What the fuck is happening?
That's really where it lost me, Father Malone, for good. This particular vignette is, at one point, his auxiliary fuel tank is on fire, I think. And he literally gets out of his cockpit at 6,000 miles above the ocean to basically work it out by hand, to bang on it till it. Look, I'm deathly afraid of heights. I went with my kids once to one of these treetop adventure things, and I had to be helped down because I was terrified of even being 20 feet up in the air. It was probably not even, probably 10 feet. Look, by definition, it's already straining credulity because we're dealing with an alien creature who's dogfighting with an entire squadron. But having said that, the idea that this guy clambers out of his cockpit and he's talking on the radio and he's doing all these things and not having a heart attack at everything that's happening, that the horror of what he's presented with, it was a bridge too far for me at that point. And to be honest, I checked out a little bit at that point.
He gets out of that cockpit multiple times. And that is, to me, also where I checked out. Because, like I said, you tell me he tied off the fucking rudder, the stick. Okay, fine. And as soon as it tilts in any direction, even if look, he's a pilot. He has no fear of heights. I get that. And he's probably been out on a wing of a plane, maybe, when it's been in the air before, because those guys are crazy. But the idea that the technology is working in concert with him and everything is working fine, while a Predator in an advanced alien ship is hunting him down, is fucking ridiculous.
It was ludicrous, and it made me frankly sad because I'm rooting for Trachtenberg. In Trachtenberg we trust. This just seemed to me tonally it was off. I get what he was trying to do. Maybe he was trying to make it a little more lighthearted than the rest, and by that definition he succeeded. But it just wasn't for me. Maybe this was some people's favorite episode of this particular anthology, but it wasn't mine.
It's just okay at best, which is definitely what prompted my proposal that they show these in reverse order. They'd started in the 40s and we worked our way back in time. It would have been way more powerful. Because here's the thing, what he's working against is the great bummer that we finally discover, and we discover about the Predators overall eventually, is that if you beat them, they're coming to take you. And that's a fucking drag, man. On a certain level, it's a fucking drag.
That was the most horrifying part of this whole movie for me, Father Malone, is after, in the final sort of vignette, or at the end of the bullet, Torres has gone back to civilian life. He now has his own mechanic shop. This is probably months, if not years after this battle all happened. So it all this time has gone by, and the Predator still has not forgotten what he did, but tracks him down to where he lives in, I think, Florida. That's horrifying to me that it doesn't matter. It could be 3 or 4 years after you kill that Predator. They will find you and they will take you against your will into a spaceship back to their home planet with really no way of getting back home. That's so fucking scary to me. That's worse than the average alien abduction, because you're getting taken because you've survived. But they don't see it that way. The Yautja don't see it that way. They want your cunning. They want your ability to fight for their own amusement. That's scary as hell.
It's a whole other level to the Predators that I don't like about them, but that's okay. They are the villains after all.
Agreed. It makes them even more hateable as villains, because they do have a code. They usually don't kill you if you're not armed and not a threat. But Torres, it had been forever since he fought and killed the Predator. He was just living his life, and he gets taken by this ship. Scary.
So we end up, not only do you end up grabbed by the Predators and taken from your world to be shipped off to fight in some gladiatorial combat at some point, but that's the point I'm making. It's at some point. These characters have been in some sort of cryo freeze for hundreds of years, and now they're just being thawed out. This is obviously the first time they've been thawed out because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, because
what the fuck?
He's on this ship with the Shield Maiden and the Shinobi. What did we say? 691 was when the Viking Shield Maiden fought?
800 AD, 1600 AD, and 1945 or so, or 7 maybe.
Hundreds of years. That's so scary to me. Like, that's like your worst nightmare. You're taken from everything you know and love and put on this planet to just kill.
So they're paraded out to an arena where they're going to have to kill one another, and then the victor has the privilege of fighting. The character is listed as the Grendel King.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's now. First of all, when they come out of the ship and they're marching to the arena, and the Predators are all kneeling on either side of them, that was great.
Yeah,
I like that the Predators still have the respect, even if they're doing this horrible fucking thing to these people.
But yeah, if you can kill these other people, then it's not as if you then are given the ability to leave. All that affords you is the ability to get killed by an even larger and meaner Predator than you've already dealt with.
What do you win if you beat him? They never tell us.
I was wondering about that too. I don't know, because
do you become the king of all the Yautjas? This foreigner from another planet becomes their king?
No, I would assume that if you make it that far, and I'm sure precious few ever do, that they just put you on ice again, that you put back into cryo, and then maybe you then become the killer of killers that they have to get through. I don't think there's any real reward at the end of all of this other than surviving another day.
It would be cool if you're really good at it, if you're a killer of killers, you become the one that they drop onto a planet with a bunch of like young predators, like you're the feared thing.
But
now, when they're going to pit these guys against each other, they give them weapons from their home world, figuring this is what you need. So they give him a sword, and they give her some sort of axe, very Viking. And then they give him, and this should be a clue as to where we're going at the end of this, they give him the Andolini pistol.
Yeah. But with no ammunition.
No, they do. No, there is ammunition. It's sitting right there. He just doesn't know what to do with it.
Oh, he fumbles it, and then he realizes what it is. You're right. I thought the ammunition popped up in another point in their fight. It just, after the fight goes on for a little while, little thing.
It had popped up. He just hadn't seen it. He just grabbed the gun and thought, I'm going to use this gun. And then afterwards went, oh, what? Oh, I see. The weapon has gunpowder and such.
Mm-hmm. Which kind of ties it in with Prey, because that's Naru also struggled with the pistol a little bit. She didn't, even after being told how to do it, she still doesn't understand the gunpowder and all of that stuff.
Of course, she had never seen a pistol before, so she has an excuse.
But he had never seen a flintlock. It's probably a fair bet that Torres had never seen one of those.
Come on, Torres. You know what you're supposed to do. You got to put the powder in. You got to ramrod the thing.
But while he's trying to, because it's like a 4-step process to load and fire these things. But meanwhile, he has the Shield Maiden kind of decides immediately that this is what she has to do. She starts swinging the axe. The shinobi, at least, realizes he actually decides he's not going to fight because he's not going to fight for someone else's amusement, and he just doesn't believe in the whole thing. And Torres is just trying to figure out a way to get to the ship so he can fly them off that world. But so he's struggling with this pistol. Meanwhile, this Shield Maiden is swinging this big fucking sharp axe at him and trying to kill him. And the shinobi's just trying to keep the peace as best he can. And they also have, we should also mention that they have these universal translators that, so they can talk and be understood in each other's language, at least to a certain degree. And we get more of the Yautja speaking. And I don't know, there's something, like I said, cool and chilling about all of that.
I loved it. I loved hearing him speak, and I loved hearing the translation. More of that, please. I'm so excited for Badlands. Okay, I'm going to stop.
We're going to get that in at least according to the trailers, we're going to get a lot of that. But anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it very soon. Another 2 weeks.
So 2 get away, one remains.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Here's something that happens. Much like Voltan, he's got a few tricks up his sleeve. This Grendel King, if they're not going to fight each other, let's encourage them. So they release beasts from other worlds.
Yes.
Including one with this maw on the top of its head that eats Torres. And I got to tell you, HP, when he did eat Torres, I thought, oh, wow, the stakes got really high. Also, I don't really care that they killed Torres. He's the one that was expendable. So that was good. Like, as long as the Shield Maiden and the ninja are okay, I'm good with Torres.
That was a cheat, though. He should have died because what they do, that stupid thing where he's inside of the belly of the beast and he's struggling trying to get out. I wish they had just done away with him and that would have been it. They need somebody to take off in the ship, but still.
See, that's the problem. And this is Trachtenberg's problem. He wanted to do best in show because he realized that we love these people and now we're going to feel really bad if any of them die. But then he loved the characters too much, so he couldn't kill them.
Yeah. So what ends up happening, though, is that they all take their lumps. I think the shinobi gets it the worst. I think he is bitten or stabbed, or I don't remember exactly. But they escape on the ship. They steal the ship. Torres pilots the ship out, but the Shield Maiden has been left behind, and she's held by the other predators. And that's when the leader of this whole enterprise, this amphitheater, essentially declares hunting season has begun.
First of all, they put her back in cryo sleep, which, look, they easily could have said, you're a failure and stabbed her, and then that was the end. So at least they recognize that she has some value as a fighter and a killer of killers, potentially. But then, like you said, here's the thing. All of the problems I had with this movie, and I did have some, and I did not like portions of this movie, were completely papered over when the Predator King goes, let's go hunting, and then an innumerable number of ships took off and in pursuit of Torres and the Ninja Boy.
It's absurd, the number of ships. There's absolutely, unless there's, maybe he has a sequel in mind at some point, there's no way that they could have gotten away.
Do you think?
But at the same time, you're right that the Shield Maiden is spared, but it's still a living nightmare because all she's ever going to wake up to is another opportunity to fight for her life. But what we do have, the kind of lasting image from this, and this was something that was revised after release, is we see her getting pushed in this cryo stasis box.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. We mentioned that during Prey. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark. At the end here, it's the fucking warehouse with all of the artifacts.
It is. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of cryo tubes in this warehouse.
And we get to peer into one as we pass it. There's the silhouette of something with 4 arms that looks formidable.
Which I think, as a side note, what I'm hoping we get eventually, I know it's important to have a human protagonist because that's what we identify with as humans. But I do want to see more extraterrestrial aspects at it because it's not just that they're hunting Earth. Their hunting grounds are probably like innumerable. There's probably weird planets with that four-armed creature that you describe. I want to see some more of that. I want to get, let's widen it out from Earth, and let's see some more interesting. Maybe we'll get that a little bit in Badlands. We'll see.
I think we're probably going to get a whole lot of beasts and other predators and humans, but I like where you're going because I would like to see another humanoid race. Who else have they encountered that have fucked them up?
Yeah. Clearly, the humans cannot be the killer of killers. There's got to be some weird alien race that is even more formidable than humans. I have to believe that. But anyway, so they're wheeling the Shield Maiden back to her spot in the warehouse. And as they're passing, who do we see? The camera pans over. We see Naru. She is, and it makes me sad for Naru because she fought through so much in Prey. The idea that she's just been boxed up and kept in storage to fight is,
you know what this is, HP? This is the next day, and Daniel finds out that Allie has broken up with him for some dude, and his car is trashed, and everything sucks again. That's how you begin Karate Kid 2? Fuck you. We fought so hard for that ending.
It is. I like where you're going with this.
We've watched these rebels fucking fight and lose and fight more and defeat an empire, and here's the empire again. What?
Yeah.
What did they fight for?
Crumples up that previous plot of the Karate Kid and just says, oh, you know what? Fuck you. So that's how it originally ended. But then they put out, I think, I don't know if they called it like a special ending or what, but for whatever reason, they amended that ending later. So not only do we get to see Naru, but then the camera pans over again and it's Danny Glover from Predator 2.
Harrigan, Mike Harrigan.
But the thing that really got me excited was right next to Mike Harrigan is Dutch, and they give you that little musical cue from the first Predator. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger from the original. So what this effectively does is if they decide to make another animated picture in this world, we might actually get to see Dutch fighting alongside Naru and Harrigan. And that is pretty fucking badass.
It's so fucking cool. I can't even, they're around. You start recording their voices. I hope they've done it secretly. I hope there's a fucking Predator Killer of Killers sequel on the way. And it's Dutch and Harrigan and Naru fucking shit up everywhere. Throw Ripley in there. Why not? How about the Flash? Batman. He can show up too and fight some Predators. He's done it before.
So that was, but it almost redeemed the last couple of vignettes in this anthology. The prospect of having those characters come back, because you'll never ever get Danny Glover and Schwarzenegger in a live action sense. That ship has sailed, but this gives them the license and the ability to bring them back. You don't even really need Schwarzenegger to do it, because I will tell you this, like the last few Mortal Kombat games, they've added in Schwarzenegger characters as bonus characters. So you can fight Mortal Kombat as the T-800. You can fight Mortal Kombat. I think Dutch is in there. I think Conan is in there. Whoever they
Matrix. John Matrix.
That would be cool.
I love listening to your piss-ass soldiers try and talk tough. They make me laugh. If Matrix was here, he'd laugh too.
No, my point is that it's not Schwarzenegger delivering the lines in this Mortal Kombat game, but whoever they got to do it sounds like Schwarzenegger to me. So what the hell? He can have just somebody else do his lines, because he doesn't really seem to have much interest to go back to the Predator
at
franchise.
This point, your cousin Ivan could do an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression that could probably pass. Come on now.
It would be so cool. Imagine if these characters from these different movies got together. That would actually, we wouldn't be talking about a Hulu only surprised thing. This would be an actual theatrical, because why wouldn't you have that in the theater? That sounds so badass.
It sounds Badlands.
Sounds awesome.
And that's where we're headed next. Oh my God, HP, we've reached the end of a fest. Ladies and gentlemen, next week you're going to be hearing us talk about Predator Badlands. HP and I, that's what's happening. Woo! Oh boy, it's going to be such a good time. Hopefully it's a good movie, because man, oh man, we've been fucking playing it up and talking it up, and oh, wouldn't it be terrible if it's terrible?
Well, give us something to talk about
What
instead
if
of
it's terrible?
praising.
I'll be so depressed.
I don't think anything can happen. Look, our favorite filmmakers have disappointed us in the past. All signs point to yes on this one, Father Malone.
Like the magic 8-ball. HP, where can people find you if they're looking for you these days?
All right. I co-host the Night Mr. Walters Taxi podcast alongside Midnight Viewing's Father Malone right here. I host the Noise Junkies music podcast, and not to mention I have a Bandcamp site, hpmusicplace.bandcamp.com.
As for me, you're listening to the show that I do. Keep it here twice a week, Mondays and Fridays, maybe Sundays and Thursdays. Who knows, whenever I get them done. If you're a patron, you're listening to this months in advance. And, check out, we're starting Star Trek Fest. We're actually recording that one next, but you're not probably going to hear that until December. Anyway, keep it here at Midnight Viewing. That was another great thing about it, all the subtitles. Anyway, we'll talk to you next time.